I'm Pluto Burns, and welcome to Eagleland. Well, we did it! We made it to 40! For all my new subscribers, every 10 episodes on this show, we cover one of my top 5 favorite mangas. So this is my second favorite manga, and I'm willing to bet it's one you haven't heard of. It's called...
Pardon, monsieur.
What is it, Spy Crab?
1,000 apologies for interrupting the show, but there has been a security breach. Jay has entered the facility. He has come for the chair.
Oh shit, he found us. Okay, mind the camera while I go deal with this. Cap, get the weapons.
Sold me, you sold me down the river now.
Hello, I'm also Pluto Burns, and my second favorite manga is Kimi wa Petto.
Sumire is a successful reporter and career woman, but lately she's been getting really stressed out with her coworkers. On her way home, she encounters an injured young man in a cardboard box outside of her apartment. She takes him in and nurses him a little, but the next day the wanker is still in her house. He's a bit of a drifter and asks if he can stay with her for a while. She half-jokingly suggests that if he wants to stay, he has to be her pet. He agrees, and so the master-pet relationship begins.
Oi! Get back here, you blighters! I promise it's not nearly as perverted as it sounds. Just because a late-20s career woman takes a young, athletic male under her care doesn't mean you should, okay, maybe I could have worded that better.
I promise that this isn't going to be anything like that weird cat lady from D4. I know that it sounds kinky, but really sit back and think about what it means to be a pet. Suck out your sexual assumptions.
That sounded wrong.
And just think what dogs and cats do. They expect you to feed and care for them, and in exchange they give you love and companionship.
It is actually a very fascinating evolutionary path. For animals to understand how to trade something intangible like love and affection for very tangible food and shelter is frankly astounding. Unless you're a cat owner, in which case you get cold indifference and dander.
So Momo, as Sumire dubs her new human pet, takes on the role of helpless cute thing. He waits at home for Sumire to make him dinner, and when she arrives, he jumps her with a show of affection worthy of the best canine companions. And Momo goes out of his way to be as helpless and adorably non-threatening as possible. It's actually incredible how well Momo inhabits the role of a pet, even though he is a human who's got, like, a job and friends.
Now you might be asking, what does Sumire get out of this? I mean, she's a busy career woman. Why would she want to take care of this guy? Well, the answer is as simple as she really needs a pet in her life.
Sumire, since childhood, has had great difficulty expressing herself. She finds it very difficult to say to people that she is unhappy or struggling. She used to lay all her worries on her beloved dog, also named Momo. Now, she does the same thing with all her adult worries, laying them on the shoulders of this young man who willingly acts as her confidant.
I would ask the much more valid question of why she didn't just get a non-human pet. I don't know if you've ever rented before, but they don't just let your friends move in whenever they want.
It's come to our attention that you have a friend staying a little too long at your apartment. If he stays any longer, we're going to have to add him to the lease.
No, see, he's not my friend. He's my pet.
We don't allow pets.
But all this pet nonsense is really just set up for what amounts to a love triangle story. Except without the poor writing, flip-flopping, sexual pandering, drawn-out narrative, and general shittiness that comes with Euclidean love.
The manga literally opens with Sumire being dumped by her long-term boyfriend. He was what would be considered a bit below her socially, but they both had an interest in professional wrestling and generally got along. So after he dumped her,
After getting the girl he was cheating with pregnant,
Sumire decides that she shall only date men who are taller than her and make more money than her. And she finds this in an old flame of hers, Hasumi,
who she proceeds to date, while still keeping Momo at her house.
And it's pretty damn clear that even though she likes Hasumi as a friend and romantically, she really can't marry him. She is far too conscious of how she appears before him, trying to present herself as the calm, in-control businesswoman. And what eventually makes their relationship untenable is that Sumire can't relax around Hasumi and be herself.
Sumire has a real problem making waves, as it were. her. She doesn't really like to express her opinion on how things should be done or what we should be doing if it conflicts with other people's ideas. I know those don't sound like really good qualities for a reporter to have, but she's not an investigative reporter like Nellie Bly. Oh, was that too cosmopolitan a reference for this show? Fine, she's no April O'Neil.
If there's any more stock film of women applauding, I shall clear the court.
And it's not like her true personality is that embarrassing. Yeah, she lets it go a little at home, crying at kids' movies, recording anime on her VHS,
This manga was written in the 90s.
watching wrestling, and playing video games. But these are just her form of relaxation. It's not like she is a full-on otaku. But she still feels the need to hide this from her boyfriend, because it doesn't at all gel with her professional businesswoman persona she shows at work.
But what I do like about this manga is that her personality quirks aren't treated as problems to be solved. She's a 29-year-old woman. I don't think she's going to go under major personality changes at this point in her life.
Yes, having Momo, the human cocker spaniel, in her life does help her open up a bit, but she remains fundamentally the same person. She is a very educated, skilled reporter who can kick ass with wrestling moves, that she occasionally practices on Momo.
Yeah, that's something I may have neglected to mention about this manga so far. It's surprisingly wacky.
I don't want to call it childish or puerile, but it's definitely a brand of humor of a lesser pedigree than the storytelling. Momo often does wacky shit in his role as Pet, but sometimes he also just wears this alien mask, which I guess he carries around on the off chance he'll need the joke. There's a whole bunch of little jokes that just hang around for a panel and vanish, and weirdly, some of them are pretty clearly references. Sumire's sister goes all Uma Thurman on some asshole boyfriend in a flashback, and the movie Alien gets brought up several times. It really does feel like an early form of the fast-paced internet humor. Like when Sumire's other sister drops off this slinky one piece, and before Sumire can object, she just bamps off on her motorcycle.
Card games on motorcycles.
Yeah, like that.
But the wackiness doesn't really detract from the story. The moving and emotional moments are all handled with a sense of grounded realism without any of the overblown shininess rampant in the shoujo genre. In fact, the art is decidedly un-shoujo. I can't really say I've ever seen art like this before, with faces shaped quite like this, or their relatively flat eyes. It's not unpleasant apart from some very concave faces, but it may take getting used to if you've read too much manga like me.
Now, the next thing I...
Sleepy time.
Why do we not just kill him?
Do you know how hard it would be to clean up an actual murder scene? We already have enough trouble cleaning up after the dead clones. So
Momo is a pretty damn fascinating character who we learn more about as the manga goes on, whereas most of what we know about Sumire is told to us through flashback or her internal monologue. We learn about Momo through his actions. His mother was a famous ballet teacher and he was the youngest of his three sisters, so he grew up very in tune with how women feel and learned how to make them happy for the sake of his own happiness. His mother's attempts to make him a ballet dancer weren't well received by his father, and he later discovered that he preferred modern dance anyway. Naturally, this didn't go over well, so he was basically disowned. He coasted off his good looks and amiable nature to hop from house to house of people willing to keep him around for companionship and
holy shit, Momo was a gigolo.
Yeah, prior to moving in with Sumire, Momo was a gigolo who traded sex for housing. In fact, that's why he was beat up when Sumire found him. He didn't want to have sex with a gay nightclub owner.
That storyline was wrapped up in probably the most un-homophobic way 90s Japan could manage.
And it's not like his new arrangement with Sumire appears that different on the surface. His dancer friends routinely ask him how the sex is. But what Momo provides is far more valuable than physical comfort. He is the emotional salve that saves Sumire from the pain of the world.
Being the person who is exposed to all of Sumire's emotional weaknesses, it'd be weird if Momo didn't develop feelings for her. They almost feel like a destined couple. No one but Sumire could have endeared themselves so thoroughly to Momo, and no one but Momo could have put up with all the shit she puts him through.
Sumire does not treat her pet particularly well. She likes to practice her wrestling holds on him as the most blatant example, but more so than that, Momo remains her pet and has a huge crush on her while she is dating Hasumi. He must have the patience of Job.
It's shocking just how well written even the side characters in this manga are. Almost every character we spend any time with gets just enough development to feel like a realized human being. Which shouldn't even be possible considering how many of them sound like stock stereotypes when I describe them.
This girl's the standard weak whiner who uses her helplessness to get special treatment. This girl's the seducer type who plans to steal Hasumi away from Sumire. Sumire's best friend is a definite match for the standard best friend whose life revolves around her best friend, i.e. main character. But all these stock characters are rescued by moments of self-awareness. Whiner Girl knows she's useless at work and is trying her hardest to snag a man to take care of her. Jezebel originally targeted Hasumi for his wealth, but ended up actually falling for him because his somewhat outdated chivalry managed to crack her cynicism. And Yuri gets a genuinely great chapter where she invades Sumire's life for a week so she can get back in shape so she can seduce her husband who cheated on her.
This manga actually has a lot to say about women's role in the workplace in the 90s of Japan. Wacky!
Sumire, of course, is the dedicated and educated career woman, and the men in the department aren't really too sure how to deal with that. It doesn't help that Sumire herself is pretty bad at asking for things, but there's definitely some outdated attitudes floating around. But her life isn't presented as the ideal way for a woman to live. Yuri is a woman who applied great effort and intelligence towards snagging a husband who makes a lot of money, but she is truly a happy mother who devotes herself to her daughter.
It's a surprisingly balanced take. Being a super educated career woman like Sumire is clearly very difficult and causes her lots of stress, but then again, she does love her job and cares about doing it. And the women who are shown being dependent on men aren't shown as having taken the easy path in life. I can't even sum up how well written this manga is.
I know this review didn't give much of an overview, but the manga is just too long and densely packed with goodness for any kind of summary-like review. I would have just descended into a never-ending run of me gushing about my favorite moments, and that doesn't help anyone.
Hopefully my little review has piqued your interest because this is a truly great manga. It's a bit of a difficult recommend for anyone who isn't into small character pieces, but if you like romance, then you deserve to read this. It's a great story beyond its status as a manga. The author of Kimi wa Petto is Yayoi Ogawa. She's written quite a few other works, none of which seem as popular as this in comparison, which was a smash hit in Japan. If you read it and love it, there's a live-action drama for you to chew on. Thanks for sticking with me this long, only 10 more episodes to go. Till next time, I'm Pluto Burns, and this has been Eagleland.
Rainbow, my dear, I cannot express my delight. It's abundantly clear that somewhere out here is a pet that will suit you just right. I can't wait to get started. But first let me set a few rules. It's of utmost importance the pet that I get is something that's awesome and cool. Awesome, cool, got it. I have so many wonderful choices, just wait you will see.